Good afternoon, Professor Gideon Koren. I'm very glad to welcome you in ISOP Israel and in this conference that we will give about the vaccine and the breakthrough of this COVID vaccine. And I have, first of all, I want to introduce you. You are a pediatrician and a pharmacologist. You have created Motheriisk International, and you have written thousands of articles and a lot of books about drug safety and vaccines. So I'm very happy to have you today with us. And the first question is the following. As a pediatrician, you consult children and babies every day. So have you already experienced adverse event on these children or babies, and especially long-term adverse event?
Yes, parents are very concerned. Interestingly enough, it's mostly well-educated people or very religious people. The general public generally follow advice of their doctors, not asking too many questions, kind of saying, we trust you, that the science supports it. But the very religious Orthodox Jews, I see it, and like in England and in other countries, it's really the intellectuals who do not believe in many things. They are very nihilistic about many things. And of course, we are very concerned, as you said, Irene, there was an outbreak of measles in Israel. There were outbreaks of polio before. And we know if you lose the majority of people from vaccinating their children, you are into the business of people contracting it from each other. It's the herd immunity. You need to have enough people to have herd immunity. In the context of the COVID-19, I think because the vaccine is not yet here, I mean here, not anywhere in the world except now Britain and soon United States, I think we'll see it coming up. I don't believe there is a reason for fears. One has to remember that before they did the big, large experiments, they did the phase 1 and phase 2, where you give it for safety reasons. And the safety studies went okay. It didn't do anything that led FDA or other to stop any of the trials. Now we have 3 companies already through there. I believe there will be many more that finished already phase 1 and 2. So I think the fears of adverse events is over exaggerated, I believe. On the other hand, for people not to be vaccinated for fatal disease, especially for people of old age and people with reasons for safety, such as lung disease, cardiac disease, etc., it will be very poor judgment not to vaccinate themselves. People say, let's wait to see how it affects other people. I hear that a lot. I must admit, I am working in Bnei Brak in Israel, which is the highest level of COVID-19 in Israel because of the Orthodox community. So I go there every day and have to take care of myself, of course, too. So I will be the first, if they allow me, to take the vaccination, no question.
So, you know, Peter said exactly the same. He said, I will be the first. So I don't know who will be the first, you or me.
We have to have competition.
But what about most of the people are saying that they are afraid of long-term adverse events, that we don't have enough time after the first person who was vaccinated.
Yeah, one has to remember, for the most part, this is a the protein, a small amount of protein that's supposed to induce creation of antibodies. So there's nothing very unique here. One has to remember that human society has been now through scores and scores of vaccines and very, very few side effects if you consider how much. The issue of long-term effect always come up even with medications because you cannot know what you do not know. I think, though, today pharmacovigilance is much more advanced, so we catch up things very early. I personally do not see why a protein that induce antibody formation will give a lot of trouble. I do not believe that the issue. Also do remember that by now, thousands of people received it during phase 3 in the different companies. So it's not that we are starting from zero. And of course, the system now, American, European, Israeli, will follow up very carefully any side effects that may develop. I do not believe, if you look at what the report came now from the phase 3 big studies, very few side effects were above 2% of the population. So it's a very, very low rate. And of course, people always will say, yeah, but maybe an immunological reaction much later that will have consequences. Yeah, but we are not doing it for common cold. We are doing it for a fatal disease. People die from COVID-19, thousands and thousands of people. So, you know, the risk-benefit ratio is very important. You do it for something that kill a lot of people, and especially people of advanced age. So I think the risk-benefit is clear for me in this case.
Okay, and what to say to the people who are afraid because it's RNA and they are afraid because it's the first time that we have an RNA vaccine and that could affect our genetic code. Could be like a transmissible, genetically transmissible. What can you tell them?
Yeah, it's always an issue when you have a new method that you did not actually had a chance yet to see all potential side effects. But again, in all fairness, these were tested in animals much before. So it's not that we start from zero. It's we have experience, not yet long people experience, but I personally am very optimistic about this.
Okay, it's nice to hear that. And I suppose that you have been already since several anti-vax campaign, and right now it seems that it's like exploding. And according to you, what are the best reaction, and what should we do to counter these anti-vax campaigns?
You see, it's different when now we have anti-vax against measles or polio. You can simply tell them there's a long record that doesn't fit. And for example, when the pertussis anti-vax came, or the measles, science showed that it was not correct. The question comes in many countries, should it be compulsory? Should everyone vaccinate themselves? I do not believe it will work in democratic societies, for sure not. But experience will accumulate. And I don't think these, except for presenting the science to people as it emerges, there's no other way to do it. It will be a big pity, and I will be very afraid if we find out large percentage of people refusing the vaccines. Somehow I do not feel that will be the case. I believe that what COVID-19 did to the world in general, not just medically, but psychologically, socially, economically, there's such a degree of shock that I think many people will reconsider. There will be the anti-vax, especially younger people and people who say, what's this to do with me? But you know, sometime it will take one or two closer friends or older people or grandfathers that will die from COVID that people may change their minds. In general, the anti-vax movement in general is very stubborn and difficult to work with. I'm, as a pediatrician, very afraid of it when there is outbreak of a disease that can kill a child. And you read the manifest of some of the parents that lost a child to measles or to pertussis, and they say, oh God, what did we do? So I don't think there is a solution. And I must admit, we are now in a society where if a president of the largest country in the world can talk nonsense and lies on TV against science, everyone who read internet believe they know something about everything. And of course, junk science, a lot of junk science go on. So I think the only way is really to educate people and maybe to have groups of scientists and psychologists thinking of ways to convince people better.
This is exactly what, excuse me. This is exactly what we are doing and trying to do in ISOP Israel. And this is, we have chosen to do this as a crusade, let's say. Even if it's not perhaps the right word, but anyway, we want to do a lot of advocacy to explain what is a science and truth to general public and to healthcare professionals. Thank you so much, Professor Gideon Koren. It was a pleasure to welcome you, and we'll continue working together in ISOP Israel.
My pleasure, Irene. All the best.
Thank you.